Up, the 40th running of the $300,000 San Luis Rey Stakes. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. I'm Dan Avey. Joining me, racing expert Trevor Denman. And Trevor, very unusual in this country to send the horses out to run for 1.5 miles on the grass.
It certainly is. 1.5 miles is kind of unique for American racing, and when you go 1.5 miles on the turf, it certainly does become unique. But this race and the San Juan Capistrano coming up, really two interesting races from a strategy point of view, long-distance marathon turf events.
And in the only right-hand turn in America, is it not?
That's the Santa Anita Turf Course. It sure is. They'll start off on a downhill. They'll cross over the main track. That can be a little bit of apprehension for some of the horses that haven't been over that before. And then they got about 1 1/8 miles on the main oval.
Well, the turf is officially rated today as firm, and we've had some wonderful finishes in this race in past years.
Well, we sure have. And you know, the San Luis Rey and the San Juan Capistrano, which will be running here next month at 1.75 miles, these two races really do tie into one another. Right now, let's go and take a look at some of the big names, some of the great horses that have won both the San Luis Rey and the San Juan. We'll kick off with John Henry's win in 1980, and then two of Charlie Whittingham's 9 winners. First of all, in 85, Prince True, and in 86, Charlie Whittingham settled the winner, Dahar.
Round the far turn. It's Relaunch in front by half a length. John Henry second, Arco third, Flying Pacer on the outside, Balzac fifth. Silver Eagle on the inside, and Golden Axe, they turn for home. It's Relaunch on the rail, holding on to the lead by a head. John Henry second. On the outside, Balzac now third. Arco on the rail, then Silver Eagle looks for racing room between horses. Flying Pacer drops back. Coming to the wire, John Henry takes the lead. It's John Henry. And John Henry wins it with Darrell McHarg by 1.25 lengths. They turn for home, homeward bound in the San Luis Rey. Bataille at the rail, Weston, Dahar, this long shot rake is closing. Prince True has nowhere to go at the rail. In escape dancer, Weston just in front. Dahar now closing, and Prince True gets through at the rail, and Prince True going away. Fosterini is coming on late on the outside. They homeward bound in the San Luis Rey, and Strawberry Road is telling them to come and catch him if they want to win it.
Well, Strawberry Road was in the lead. You know, we're getting to and rail. It seems very strong. It was a very exciting race because we knew that Charlie Whittingham was going to win it, and I got lucky at winning.
We're back live at Santa Anita in the paddock now, and that looks like El Senor.
That sure is El Senor, and don't you just love this old guy? He's 7 years old, he's a veteran, he's been through this so many times before. He's almost catching a little catnap in there before he walks out into the paddock. Old-timer Angel Cordero knows this guy very well. Amazingly, he hasn't got along well on the Santa Anita turf yet as El Senor. He's had 3 tries here, and basically he just doesn't like it. However, having said that, he did run a good race in this one last year, beaten just 2.5 lengths by very strong field that comprised the types of Prized, Hawkster, Frankly Perfect. We take a look now at the paddock, and that's where they'll be starting from this afternoon. 1.5 miles on the hillside turf course. It actually starts to flatten out just about where the gates are being positioned now. They run away from the stands. They go behind some trees just to the left of the picture there, and then they'll cross over onto the main track and have 1 1/8 miles left to run. Good crowd out here at Santa Anita. Perfect conditions. We were thinking that it might be rainy today, but it's turned out just perfect for this, the Grade 1 San Luis Rey Stakes.
Well, we've got some jockeys who have certainly won this race before. In fact, Eddie De La Houssaye on Laxey Bay will be looking for 3 in a row. He also won it in 1987. Cordero, whom we just saw, won this race back in 1969. Let's take a look at the odds now on the race today. And keep in mind, people in Las Vegas and here at Santa Anita and 12 other places are contributing to the odds pool.
Well, you'll see El Senor in first-rate bracketed there. That's because they're running as an entry today. El Senor right where he should be in the wagering, 4-1. He's the 3rd choice up there. Laxey Bay, the Irish bred, just a 3-time winner, goes in against the toughest competition he's ever met. Laxey Bay is the joint favorite at 3-1. Royal Reach, the front-running horse out here, he really is the key to this whole event. He's priced up there at 7-1. Then we have Eke coming in from France to make his debut in the United States. He's a long shot at 18-1. That'll probably go out to more like 25 and 30 by the time the race starts. Live the Dream from the Charlie Whittingham barn at 6-1. Pleasant Variety, a long shot at 19-1, despite the fact that Gary Stevens rides Pleasant Variety. Mash Coeur, this one's going to have a real good shot today. He's from the Bobby Frankel barn. Chris McCarran up. Chris rides this turf course just perfectly. He loves the long-distance races, too, does Chris McCarran. Mash Coeur at 3, then Valdali 19, and River Warden rounding them out at 7-1.
Trevor, here's where the spot you were talking about, where the horses come off the turf onto the dirt and then back onto the turf again.
And you can see in the top left-hand part of your picture there, you can actually see it sloping down. Now, you know, horses are colorblind, and they look at this, and that brown part there, which is the sand, they can't quite figure it. And I would think that they think that it's a hole out there. They probably think that there's a hole. It's almost like jumping across a canyon. And you'll see them come to this particular section, and they'll prick their ears and take a good long look at that difference in color. And some of them do actually prop, which just means they get a little hesitant, and the jockey has to encourage them to go over. There's the current favorite, Laxey Bay. Neil Drysdale does a great job with these long-distance horses. Interesting performer today, Laxey Bay. He comes in from England originally. He did win a 1 1/4 race at Ripon in England. Ripon is a comparatively small racetrack. It's certainly not an Epsom. And Laxey Bay is going to have to stay that 1.5 miles this afternoon. There's the 5, Live the Dream, walking on by. In the background, you can see his rider, Alex Solis, going out. Now here we see the 6-horse Pleasant Variety, one of the big long shots in the field. He walks by, followed by Mash Coeur, and this guy looks well. He's a very docile animal, Mash Coeur. He's not highly strung at all. Here's the 8 Valdali going by. He looked pretty good as well. He might need the race today, though. He hasn't run for 6 months. And here's the other Charlie Whittingham horse, River Warden. You can see nice and relaxed. The key here, these are marathon horses. You don't want to see them jumping around, chewing on the bit. They'll get out there, they'll tug the jockey's arms out of his sockets the first mile, and they'll have nothing left the last half mile. You want to see them beautifully relaxed, just like we're looking at River Warden now. Nice, calm, and collected.
Very interesting field. We've got some horses that have campaigned for a long time. For instance, Pleasant Variety, the 6-horse. If he wins today, becomes a millionaire. We've got River Warden, a 5-year-old horse. We've got a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old. So it should be very interesting. There's the entry horse, First Rate, that races with El Senor.
Well, there's Laxey Bay, and, you know, just looking at the tote board again, he is still the 3-1 favorite, and any time that you have a favorite at 3-1, it shows just how wide open this particular race is. The favorite up there at 3-1, that's a good price for a favorite to be. The longest shot on the board is just 20-1, and normally in these kind of races, you'll find at least one horse that's way out at 50 or 60-1. We've just looked at Royal Reach walking on by, and that was Laxey Bay. Here's Live the Dream again with Alex Solis up, Pleasant Variety and Gary Stevens going on by. And here's the horse with a big shot, Chris McCarran, doing a couple of little adjustments there as Mash Coeur walks by.
We're all set for the San Luis Rey Stakes, and we'll be right back after this. Here are the conditions for the San Luis Rey Stakes. $300,000 added. Each horse had to pay $250 to be nominated, another $2,000 to run, and the track adds $300,000. A 1.5 miles on the turf, which is rated officially firm. This is for 4-year-olds and up, so they will all carry 126 pounds. If we had a filly or a mare in here, she would carry only 121. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Abey, and this time we are pleased to introduce you to Kent DeSormo, a twice Eclipse winning jockey. First time as an apprentice. We're fortunate to have him because he was unfortunate. A week ago today, Kent, you took a pretty good spill right here at Santa Anita and broke your wrist. How long will you be out?
Well, Dan, the doctors say 5 to 6 weeks, but you know us, we're pushing it and hoping to be back sooner than that, and eager to get back.
Well, let's look at some of the contenders in this race. First, the great big #1 horse, the white one, El Senor.
El Senor with jockey Angel Cordero aboard, definitely one of the old-timers in this race. Interesting case here, Dan. I think El Senor's best ride from Angel Cordero would be for him to become a great passenger.
Well, trainer Billy Wright is hoping that the turf condition and the sharp turns here at Santa Anita will not hurt El Senor's chances.
We've had so much rain that I haven't really been able to get him on there, unfortunately, because it's just rain, rain, rain. But we're going to have to go without working on the turf. This year, his prep run wasn't nearly as good as last year, his first race. But it seems as he's getting older, the turns out here are a little sharp for him. But he's had a race which can only help him, and the rain can help. So maybe we got a good chance. I think the turf's in great shape. I just think, you know, the way it is, the turns are a little sharper than he really likes, but the turf course itself is in fantastic condition here.
El Senor with Angel Cordero in the irons. Trevor, what about Royal Reach?
Here's the key to the whole race, Dan. This guy right here, Royal Reach, nice, big, strong horse. He's the only horse who has any speed, which in racing parlance just means that he'll go to the lead. You could almost take a bet that as those gates open, Royal Reach's colors will show first and he'll go straight to the lead. Then the thing that Corey Nakatani, the rider, has to do is to try to go as slow as he can for as long as he can. If he goes too fast early, he's going to have nothing left when the pressure's on at the top of the lane. Really, Corey Nakatani has this race in the palm of his hand. And let's go now to Corey, who has the ride on Royal Reach, and we ask him to assess his horse's chances in today's San Luis Rey.
He's a big horse, and he does have a real big heart. He tends to, towards the last part, he tends to wait a little bit, but he's got a big heart, and I think he's got a big chance. This time I think I'll just try and slow him down, and I think he'll come a little bit off him if somebody really wants to go to the lead. From the Marvels of the 8th just to give him a breather, and hopefully nobody comes up. Like last time they came up with a 5/8 pole, and they pushed him a little, and I had to let him out a notch, and I didn't really want to, but that's the way he wants to run. If you take hold of him, he'll stop completely, but if they give me an easy enough lead, I think he'll hang on and win.
Corey Nakatani, at 20 years of age, one of the rising stars in Southern California.
Kent Desormeaux, let's take a look now at the horse that won the San Marino here about 18 days ago, River Warden.
Yeah, River Warden with Jose Santos up. I'd have to think Jose watched the speed by his second race today, and with that in mind, I don't think he'll let Royal Reach get too far ahead. With this heady rider, capable trainer, and the talents of River Warden, I'd have to like the chances of this horse in this race.
Well, most people think Charles Whittingham is the premier trainer in the country, and Charlie told us that River Warden has been very sharp in training for this race.
He's come in perfect. He's come off a good race the other day, and he trains excellent all the time. If training him, you think he's a better horse than what he's shown so far. We always wanted to try him on the main track here, and we had him on a turf race, and it rained, so they took it off, and fortunately liked the mud, and so we won that one, and maybe it'll rain again, we'll take it off the grass course and try the mud again.
Well, there's River Warden wearing number 9, Jose Santos up. Kent, what about Mashkoor, the 8-year-old Irish horse?
Definitely another old-timer in this race. He has the intelligent Chris McCarron aboard. These two have become very familiar with each other. I've also spoken with Mr. Frankel before about this horse, and his instructions are usually to let this horse plod along the first part of the race. One can just hope that McCarron doesn't leave this horse with too much work to do the final furlong.
Well, we asked Bobby Frankel if he trains his horses differently for a 1.5-mile race.
I seem to have a lot of luck going along with my grass horses, and I don't see any difference in really training. You might breeze them a little further. I don't gallop them any further. But I think basically it's mostly the horse that wants to get the distance. My horse is fine. He ran well the other day, and the condition of the turf course is the only thing that's going to affect him.
He's got a great deal of heart. As a matter of fact, the last time I rode him, the race was switched from the grass to the main track, and it's the first time he's ever started on the dirt, and he showed another game effort and finished in second again.
Well, there is Chris McCarron wearing number 7, and he will be up on Mashkoor, and a lot of people really like that horse here today. Trevor, let's talk a little bit about Laxey Bay.
Well, you know, we have a most unusual circumstance here today. You won't see this very often in racing anywhere in the world. Now, remember, this race is for 4-year-olds and up. Laxey Bay is now the outright favorite at 5-2. Laxey Bay has only won 3 races from 14 career starts. A 3-time winner. Here he is in a Grade 1 race as the 5-2 choice. You might see that in juvenile races and even in 3-year-old races. But for older horses, very, very unusual. There he is walking alongside of Akay, the French horse number 4 under Julio Garcia. There's Laxey Bay. Eddie Dallahousse, one of the best long-distance riders in the country. Eddie's won this race 3 times already aboard Zoffany. He won it on Frankly Perfect, and he won it last year on Prize. And Laxey Bay's trainer is Neil Drysdale. Now, he was brought up in England, so he's very, very familiar with these marathon races. He trained under Charlie Whittingham for a while, so you know that Laxey Bay is as fit as he can possibly be. And Laxey Bay's most recent win was an allowance race here at Santa Anita in January, and here's that stretch run. They homeward bound now. Big warning. Laxey Bay gets a tap to go on with it. He's on the extreme outside, and here comes Laxey Bay now. And Laxey Bay still under a hand ride from Eddie D as he goes on by now with 80 yards to go. And the class of Laxey Bay showing through now as he draws away to outclass the field. The way he sticks his neck out there, he loves to run. Laxey Bay steps up in class, but he's going to be tough.
Well, a lot of people like the combination of the horse and the rider, Eddie Delahousse, to maybe come from behind on Laxey Bay. Kent Desormeaux, as a jockey, tell us a little bit about Pleasant Variety, a horse looking to be a millionaire if he wins here today.
Well, Dan, I've ridden against this big, good-looking horse. He's interesting to see that Gary takes this mount over Val Dally.
Well, trainer Jerry Fanning was not real pleased with the way he ran on the turf last time, but he thinks he'll take to the turf this time around.
He's doing fine. He doesn't really like this grass course, but I talked to Gary Stevens. He said since we've had all the rain, the grass is starting to change a little bit. So before it was moving on him, and he didn't like it at all. So I'm hoping it's a little different.
The horses are approaching the starting gate.
Number 6 is Pleasant Variety. Gary Stevens in the saddle, and boy, he is a good one. But of course, here today, with the exception of Mr. Desormeaux, I guess you've got the best jockeys in the world riding in this race at this track. Kent, how about Val Dally, another Irish horse, but this horse is not raced for 5 months.
I tell you, Val Dally gets the hot David Flores in the orange for the first time. He's been off a long layoff, and that puts him in very tough.
Well, both the trainer, Bruce Jackson, and the jockey, David Flores, are hoping that Val Dally returns to the form that he enjoyed in last year's Capistrano.
The horse wants a mile and a half, and he worked a mile last Saturday and worked well. We just hope that he's ready to go.
Well, I know about that horse. It's a good horse. He ran second in San Juan Capistrano last year. I think he's training well now. I worked him a couple of times in the morning. He feels pretty good. I don't need to be too close to the lead, so just good run in the end. If the pace going a little slow, I need more little early. If they going fast, I need to wait just the last part.
And there's David Flores in the silks, the horse, number 8 today, Val Dally. Kent, what about the stablemate of El Senor, number 1A, First Rate?
First Rate is one of 3 Irish breds in the race with patient George Velasquez in the saddle, one of his pluses. His last race shows he could be improving as horse and rider team up again.
Well, you know, we talked to the trainer, Billy Wright, and he says this other horse he has in the race has loved his brief stay here in California.
First Rate is training so well that I've got to run it. I mean, I've never seen a horse improve so much in California. He loves it out here. And so we're going to take a chance with him, and, 2 shots are better than 1. We've never been asked to carry this much weight against horses that are quite this good before, but we're going to give him a shot anyway.
Okay, there is First Rate, number 1A, running as an entry with El Senor. Kent, what about the rider's tactics in this race? If you're in the race, what do you do?
I'll tell you right now, Dan, behind the gates, these riders are getting their tactics together. They want to know where they want to be during the course of this race. They're positioning themselves, and they want to know how fast they're going to go the first part. And it's very important to know pace.
So you've got to judge the speed for the first 3/4 or the first mile or so?
That's exactly right. The first mile in this mile-and-a-half event, you want to be able to, in your hands, get the horse to relax so that you'll have a strong burst of speed the last part of the race.
Is position or pace more important in the early part of the race?
They combine to be a great factor. I think position will be one of them and pace the other. With those two, if you can get those two to work with you together, the last part of the race is all yours.
Okay, let's take a look now out on the track at Live the Dream. Trevor?
He's Charlie Whittingham's other horse here with River Warden getting some solid support. Right now, Live the Dream is 9-1 on the board. You know, he came up with a cough earlier on this year, did Live the Dream. He's over that now. He's fit and ready to run today. He doesn't really like the Santa Anita turf, though. He has won on it just once, but basically, Live the Dream would prefer to be over at Hollywood Park or even Del Mar. Let's take a look at the closing odds as they start to load them in now for the San Luis Race Stakes. You can see the first few runners already going in. In fact, 4 or 5 of them have gone in. The favorite up there, number 2, Laxey Bay at 5-2. Number 7, Mashkur is now 7-2. El Senor getting solidly bet up there at 4-1. And Royal Reach, the pacemaker, come in for some solid support. He was 7-1. He's now dropped down to 5-1. The dark horse in the race, of course, is Eke coming in from France. We don't know much about this guy. Eke, a long shot up there right now. Number 4 is 17-1. The last few runners left to load. Last few runners left to go in now for the San Luis Rey. They're going in. River Warden will complete the lineup. He goes in quietly. All set. Field sent on their way for the San Luis Rey. Eke was off just a little slowly. As expected, Royal Reach bounces to the lead, and he goes off to lead it by a length and a half. First Rate is racing second. Laxey Bay showing a little more speed than expected. He's right there in third position. Live the Dream in the red colours is back 7 off them. Royal Reach is going very fast for this distance. Mashkur is back 9 lengths off the leaders. River Warden outside of him. El Senor is back 15 off them. Then Valdali, Pleasant Variety, and Eke is last. Strung out as they come into the stretch first time round. Cory Nakatani now takes a good hold of Royal Reach. He's got him to relax out here, but First Rate is coming to pressure him on the outside. Eddie Dalahousie has Laxey Bay tucked in neatly in third position. Then there's a gap of 4 lengths back to Live the Dream. Mashkur on the inside of him is 8 lengths off the leader. A length behind that comes River Warden. Here's Present Variety and El Senor. They 12 lengths off the leaders. Valdali on the outside of him, and Eke is still the early trailer. They head towards the 3/4 pole, and Royal Reach got it all his own way now. He's just going along nice and comfortably up here. He leads it by a length and a half. First Rate is racing second. Laxey Bay going along comfortably enough in third as 4 lengths off that leader. Then it's another 2.5 back to Mashkur and Live the Dream. River Warden and Pleasant Variety, they're only 7 off the leaders now. They're taking closer order. El Senor has 8 to make up. Down at the rail we have Eke, and Valdali is last, but they're much closer together now. A half-mile left to go, and it's still Royal Reach taking them along by a length and a half. Pleasant Variety in the gold has now moved up quickly at the rail. First Rate is right there. Mashkur is now within striking distance in fourth. Then Live the Dream. Laxey Bay has dropped off them. He's 6 lengths back. River Warden on the outside of him. They have a 1/4 mile left to go, and Royal Reach, Cory Nakatani saving him as long as he can out here. Royal Reach by just over a length. First Rate can find no more. Pleasant Variety, Mashkur, River Warden, but Royal Reach hanging on. Here's Pleasant Variety coming to take him on now. Gary Stevens and Pleasant Variety, Royal Reach and Cory Nakatani at the rail, but Pleasant Variety's outrunning him, and it's going to be Pleasant Variety and Gary Stevens to win the San Luis Rey. Royal Reach was second. Mashkur finished up third. Then there's a blanket finish. Live the Dream, Royal Warden, and a good run from Eke, the long shot. El Senor was only beat about 5 lengths, but he just didn't have it today. In behind him, we have Valdali, never a factor. First Rate got tired, and Laxey Bay just was not up to Grade 1 competition today, and Laxey Bay was one of the last ones to finish. An upset here as Pleasant Variety, Gary Stevens. What a great rider he is, and look at that, 25-1, the longest shot on the board.
So Pleasant Variety, the winner of the San Luis Rey Stakes for Jerry Fanning and under Gary Stevens. In just a moment, we'll have some replays of that race, and we'll meet the winners. We're coming back right after this.
Okay,
there is the winner, racing's newest millionaire, Pleasant Variety, with $889,000 in winnings. Coming in, wins this one, and you're looking at Gary Stevens and Kent DeSormo. Nice trip for Gary.
I tell you, he was sitting in there on the fence behind him coming into the 3/8 pole with tons of horse. You could have called him the winner there if you would have liked to.
Well, let's take a look from the 3/8 pole on in, and go ahead, Kent.
Well, Gary's sitting behind on the fence in yellow behind the 2 front runners. He's just sitting in there biding for time, being patient, waiting for the fence to open up. When it did, he tried to go on, but the horse in front shut him off. He had to take up and come back around. You'll see it later. He's up and just waiting now, sitting in there. He starts right now. You see him, he taps him on the shoulder, and he's going to ask his colt to go on and get up in the race. when he does, the horse in front comes over on him, and he has to opt to go around him. When he gets him out around, the coat just explodes and comes on fabulously.
Well, a lot of horse left after a mile and a half.
I tell you, great run from Pleasant Variety. Great job from Mr. Fanning. The horse has been off a long time, and he come and just blew these horses away the last eighth of a mile.
And there he goes. Gary Stevens in the yellow, the black armbands, finishing ahead of the field. And Trevor Denman, I'm very interested in your analysis of this race.
Well, it just shows that these old guys never lose it. Pleasant Variety, a 7-year-old son of Pleasant Colony. He's owned by Martin and Eileen Albert. What a great job Jerry Fanning did, and he also took a chance running him in this Grade 1 race today, but Jerry Fanning's a great veteran trainer himself and turned this horse out just perfectly. And you know, Pleasant Variety, some people have been critical of his heart. Sometimes he gets up there and he doesn't go on with it. And it went through my mind for a moment here that Royal Reach will probably hold on. Here's Gary switching Pleasant Variety off the rail. Now, he makes a big move here, but he's been known to, what they say, hang, which is just not go on with it. He's kind of content to run second. But today, this was the real Pleasant Variety out there. He wanted to win. He wanted to win badly. And you can see Gary Stevens, just 3 taps of the whip there. There's a 4th one, but they're not hard. They're just taps to keep his mind on running. And he runs down Royal Reach by about a length at the wire. Certainly a great run from the 7-year-old Pleasant Variety.
Well, I'm always interested in hearing what another jockey has to say. And Kent Desormeaux, let's take a look at the stretch run from the viewpoint of the jockey and how he did, especially that man, as they were coming down the stretch. Here we go.
I tell you, Gary Stevens did a fabulous job. Right in here, he's got to be worried about what's going to happen to him. Right there, he had to pull out and come from behind heels. He could have went down. There's a lot of things could have went through his head. When he got out, of course, he just went on, asked the horse to go on forward, and he responded.